quit, that things were going to change. From that moment forward, Jamie was to abide by her rules, and that was that. Not that they'd always gotten along. Not that Jamie hadn't done everything imaginable behind the woman's broad back. Not that Jamie hadn't tried every trick in the book to get herself thrown out of the only home she'd ever known. Nana, a God-fearing woman who could cut her only granddaughter to the quick with just one glance, had never given up, unlike everyone else in Jamie's life. Now the key turned easily and Jamie walked into the kitchen. It smelled musty, the black and white tiles covered in dust, the old formica-topped table with chrome legs still pushed against the far wall that sloped sharply due to the stairs running up the other side of the house from the foyer. The salt and pepper shakers, in the shape of kittens, had disappeared from the table, as had all other signs of life. There were light spots in the wall, circular patches of clean paint where one of the antique dishes Nana had displayed with pride had been taken down and given to some relative somewhere in accordance with Nita's will. A dried cactus in a plastic pot had been forgotten and pushed into a corner of the counter where once there had been a toaster. The gingham curtains were now home to spiders whose webs gathered more dust. If Nana had been alive, she would have had a fit. This kitchen had always gleamed. "Cleanliness is next to godliness," she'd preached while pushing a broom, or polishing a lamp, or scrubbing a sink. And Nana had known about godliness. She'd read her Bible every evening, never missed a Sunday sermon, and taught Sunday school to teenagers. God, Jamie missed her. The bulk of Nana's estate, which consisted of this old house, the 20 acres surrounding it, and a 1940 Chevrolet parked in the old garage, had been left to Jamie. It was Nana's dream that Jamie settle down here in Grand Hope, live in the little cottage, get married, and have half a dozen great-grandchildren for her to spoil. "Sorry," Jamie said out loud as she dropped her bags on the table and ran a finger through the fine layer of dust that had collected on the chipped formica top. "I just never got around to it." She glanced at the sink where she envisioned her short, round grandmother with her gray permed hair, thick waist, and heavy arms. Nita Parsons would have been wearing her favorite tattered apron. In the summertime, she would have been putting up peaches and pears or making strawberry jam. This time of year, she would have been baking dozens upon dozens of tiny Christmas cookies that she meticulously iced and decorated before giving boxes of the delicacies to friends and relatives. Nana's old yellow and white spotted cat, Lazarus, would have been doing figure eights and rubbing up against Nita's swollen ankles, and she would have complained now and again about the arthritis that had invaded her fingers and shoulders. "Oh, Nana," Jamie whispered, glancing out the window to the snow-crusted yard. Thorny, leafless brambles scaled the wire fence surrounding the garden plot. The hen house had nearly collapsed. The small barn was still standing, though the roof sagged and the remaining weed-strewn pasture was thankfully hidden beneath the blanket of white. Nana had loved it here, and Jamie intended to clean it up and list it with a local real estate company. She glanced at her watch and walked outside to the back porch. She couldn't waste any more time thinking maudlin, nostalgic thoughts. She had too much to do, including meeting with the McCafferty brothers. Boy, and won't that be a blast! She carried in her bags and, despite the near-zero weather, opened every window on the first floor to air out the house. Then she climbed up the steep wooden stairs to her bedroom, tucked under the eaves. It was as she'd left it years ago, with the same hand-pieced quilt tossed over the spindle bed. She opened the shades and window and looked past the naked branches of an oak tree to the county road that passed this stretch of farmland. All in all, the area hadn't changed much. Though the town of Grand Hope had grown, Nana had lived far enough outside the city limits that the fast lane hadn't quite reached her. Jamie unpacked. She hung some clothes in the old closet. The rest she stowed in the top 2 drawers of an antique bureau. She didn't allow her mind to drift back to the year and a half she'd lived with Nana. The best time of her life. And the worst. For the first time in her 17 years, she'd understood the meaning of unconditional love, given to her by